All right, thank you for tuning in to this All of the Above Episode 3 Extra. I'm here with Hyman, who was part of our panel discussion about college access and college enrollment. And she is a co-founder of the College Access Program, which I want to ask her about and learn a little bit more about her work with college access. So thank you, Mo, for sitting down for this one-on-one.
My pleasure.
So can you tell us a little bit more about CAP and how that came about?
Yeah, so College Access Plan started in 2006 with a teacher, a high school teacher, my friend Kathleen, and myself. And I was an English professor at the time, and she was an English teacher at the time. We're English folks. We're literature people. And we really just saw a need that there were students who weren't aware of some basic stuff like SAT, when to take the SAT or ACT exam, or what schools might be available to them, what financial aid, probably most importantly, what financial aid might be available to them. So we sat down with counselors at her school and said, what do you guys need? And they said, you know, we try really hard. We want to get this information out to students, but that doesn't mean they all get it. They don't get it all the time. Right. You can always say things 400 more times. So we thought we really just opened the door to her classroom and started inviting students in after school. And that has now ballooned into a program that serves 6 high schools, 4 mainstream high schools and 2 alternative high schools, 6 middle schools, and then we also support students through college graduation. So now we're serving 1,500 students a year, but we started with 3 in Kathleen's classroom in 2006.
3 OGs.
Yep.
Are you guys still in contact with those 3?
Yeah, actually, one of them we're always in contact with. We always have a line on what Kadia's doing and where she is. And so that's kind of special.
Nice. Fantastic. So let me hear a little bit more about the middle school aspect of it, because that's a more recent aspect of it.
Yeah, that started, I guess, 5 or 6 years ago. I don't even know what year it is. 2012, I think we started middle school. And the idea is just to provide students with early information about college. So we focus on college readiness and exploring colleges, exploring ideas. What kinds of colleges are there? Right. What does it mean to have a major? What are the courses that you're going to take in high school to prepare you to go to college? What are all of the post-secondary options that are out there? And then we also talk about some career interests, what might you be interested in, but also helping students to understand that that can change a lot over time, and that's okay. We look at personal interests. What are your superpowers? What do you get really excited about, right? Because is it being outdoors? Is it anything? I mean, I'll use the outdoors example. If you really, really love being around trees, then down the road when you're looking at colleges, you might not want to be at a college in the middle of the desert. Right. You know, and so a lot of it is getting those characteristics in place. Do you like to be in a large school environment where there are a lot of sports and there are a lot of students, or would you prefer a smaller, more personal liberal arts college? There are so many different kinds of schools, and getting students interested early and giving them all the information just helps them to really envision themselves in that space later on.
Fantastic. So if let's say I'm a high school junior or senior and I'm at a school site and I hear about college access plan available, you know, on this particular day, these particular hours. If I walk in there, what's my experience? What's going on?
So what's going to happen is somebody's going to come up to you and ask you, what are you interested in? What are you working on? Why are you welcome? Why are you here? Sort of the idea. And we want students to drive their experience in our programs. It's a drop-in program. If you show up, it's because you want to be there. You haven't been forced to be there. You want to. You have some reason you're there to ask questions. And then our job at the high school level is really, do you have the information you need to make informed decisions? So if you're a junior in high school, have you signed up to take the SAT or ACT? Do you know the difference between these tests? How do you decide which test you might want to take? How do you decide which? We give free SAT prep classes. We're going to be adding ACT prep next fall.
Nice.
So a lot of it is, are you taking the steps you need to take? And the other piece is getting started early. it's really never too early to start exploring colleges, to start thinking about your personal statements. How do you talk about yourself in a way that is a little bit different than you do? I'm an English professor. The way that my students write in English in composition classes, it has nothing to do with the way that they write their college for college. Okay, a little bit, but very little. Those are not very related things. Students need to feel comfortable writing about themselves and talking about themselves in ways that really spark interest in somebody at a college. And that's not easy to do because it's not something that our students necessarily practice. How do you get yourself, your maturity, your authenticity, probably most importantly, your leadership, your ability to be a leader and to lead in what kind of leader are you? And most importantly, your fit for the schools that you're looking at. How do you get that on paper in, 600 words or less?
Right.
It's not easy to do. So we try to get started on that early.
Great. So if I'm a parent and I'm watching this video, I landed on it on Facebook and I'm hearing about this plan, aren't counselors supposed to be the ones doing this? What's going on with that?
Counselors are amazing, and that's why we started our organization in conversation with counselors. But this work takes hours and hours and hours for one student. And we are so fortunate as an organization that we are college experts. That's what we do. We know everything about college. We know lots of weird things about colleges all over the country that nobody's ever heard of. And our counselors have so many responsibilities and things that they have to do. So yes, of course they do college. And we rely on them to get information to students and to make sure that our students are all completing their FAFSAs and they're in California, their California DREAM Act if they're undocumented, that students have all the information they need. And hopefully they rely on us to do some of that deeper dive where we can spend hours with a student working on a personal statement. And they just sometimes don't have time to do that. And the truth is, we often look at, I think I said this earlier in the big segment, we often look at private schools and say, well, private schools have college counselors and their students are going to college, but we know that that's not accurate as far as the research goes. The research shows us that parents of students in private schools are paying for external help.
Right.
And our job is to be that external help for students who can't pay for it.
So then that sounds expensive. How is that paid for then?
Well, we are very, very fortunate to be funded by a number of foundations throughout the Southern California area. We receive donations from individuals, so that's always really helpful. People who are inspired by our work or who want to invest in it. That's a big chunk of how we do what we do. And then in partnership with our schools, we're able to receive a little bit of funding, but even more so, we just keep it lean and mean, right? If we're able to run our program on school campuses in a computer lab, we don't have to have all that infrastructure. We don't have to have a computer lab. We get to partner with the school, and that keeps our costs low because students don't have to come to us. We want to come to them. We want to make sure that we're available where they are because our students, first generation college going, largely students of color, often low income, they have a lot of responsibilities and they can't shuttle all around town trying to make sure that they get this information. And even if they come to our program for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, they can get something out of it. And so that's our job, is to make sure that we make every minute that they're with us meaningful for what they tell us they need.
Fantastic. Now, I'm a high school senior. I go to College Access Planning, and you guys help me out SAT-wise, ACT. I apply, I get in. You help me with my financial aid, FAFSA, and all that. Thank you and goodbye?
No, I mean, the great thing is we develop really important, meaningful relationships with our students, right? We know that the research shows that having a meaningful relationship with a knowledgeable adult matters to the way that a student sees themselves at all ages. And so we're not going to just cut off that relationship and say goodbye. We support students who invest in us the most through college graduation. So what that means is, as a drop-in program, we might see some students 1 or 2 times. And that's because sometimes they're getting support elsewhere. Sometimes their schedule just doesn't fit. We try to make it as available as possible, but it doesn't work for everybody. Sometimes they just find something else that fits better for them, and that's cool. That's they're making that relationship. They're driving that. So the ones that come all the time, we see students 20, 30, 40 days a year. Some just come after school after a while just to be there.
Nice.
Sometimes they don't even have a lot to work on.
Right.
And so we invite them to participate in our college success program. It's called I Heart College, and we support them through college graduation. And what we're finding is we support them beyond they're family.
Nice.
Once they're at I Heart College, we're their family, they're our family. And so we hang with them forever. We love to bring back our alumni into our staffing. So we have staff who are alumni. We have a board member who's an alumnus. So we support students through college graduation because we want to make sure that they have what they need to navigate a really, really complicated environment. And our college systems haven't caught up to the college access and success language, honestly. They're trying, they're working hard at it, but they're not successfully supporting all of our first generation college goers. And so we feel like we have to buttress that support with external help. And we try to do that as well as we can. And we do it sometimes long distance. We do it on the phone, we do it on the computer, we do it with care packages. Everybody wants a care package for their first finals, right? So we just try to be really present in our students' lives and really encourage them to become leaders. In our organization, we have an alumni advisory council that helps us to make decisions around how do we support our students effectively?
Right.
What are those places in the system where they're getting a little stuck?
Right.
And how can we remove those barriers to get them through college success? And then we try to keep them coming back. Like I said, we have a alumnus board member, and that means that we have the student voice throughout our organization, that it's not just old people like me who are making these decisions, but our students are really influencing what we're doing.
Wow. So now I've been teaching at a site that has the benefit of being one of College Access Plan's
our
home
first
bases.
site.
First site. And I teach seniors, and I know for a fact through my own interactions with them that at least 80 to 90% of them, the overwhelming majority of the college support that they received was through CAP, and that for most of them, they wouldn't be where they are now in terms of college and having graduated college without CAP support. So if I'm watching this video and I'm teaching somewhere, a school site where the counselors are overwhelmed by their caseload and a CAP isn't there, how can I begin the process of perhaps exploring something similar to make that powerful impact at a different school site?
Well, I mean, first of all, part of it is identifying organizations. There aren't many like CAP that are just on school sites that are open, but there are different college access and success organizations throughout Southern California. We have a network of about 75 organizations here in Southern California, and we know that there are some that are not part of that network, so we're pretty robust. And throughout the state, we have far more than that. And so there are organizations doing what we're doing, but I also think that some of this has to happen on a systems level, right?
Absolutely.
That we need to look at the district level, at the school level, and find ways to take the data that we receive and to use it as a way of identifying those moments, those pressure points, right? We can identify which students are likely to be four-year college eligible or are near four-year college eligible, or who are at 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. We can identify those pressure points. We can start to use that data to objectively normalize across systems so that students not hearing just subjective information about them. They're hearing objectively, this is where you are. This is how many classes you need to take to be four-year college ready. If that's the path you're on, if that's not the path you're on, let's talk about alternative information. But hey, let's get you on that path just in case you decide to make that decision. And then most importantly, we really can put systems in place to make sure all students are completing their financial aid forms. In California, we're so lucky to have the California DREAM Act. So it's not just our citizens and green card holders who can use, permanent residents who can use the FAFSA. It's also our undocumented students who can do the DREAM Act form, but they need to have that information. And we can really inexpensively normalize that across systems so that every student is able to do that. So I think sometimes we have to look at those systems level. If we're not able to embed a whole program, what are the easy college access and success pieces that we can literally just pick off that are checklist items. So maybe not every student who's living in potentially rural communities, not every student will necessarily have an organization. They won't have the infrastructure to have a CAP, though we're interested, because those are the places I'm most interested in going, right? Or where there are no services. But even if they don't have that access, I think we need to look at a systems level and start making sure that schools are creating systemic opportunity for students. Absolutely.
So then, one last question. What's your favorite part of this work?
I mean, now I'm lucky enough, CAP has a large staff, so I don't get to work with students very often, and I miss them.
Yeah, that's always the best part of the work.
It's always the best part of the work. My favorite part, as an English professor, I get really nerdy about personal statements, about helping students to tell their story. That's what I enjoy the most. But then there's this other part of me that's so excited about the advocacy side of things, right? About talking to people about the systems level work, about making real systemic change in our institutions. I get really, really excited about that partnership aspect, because I'm so lucky to have a deep and meaningful partnership with a school district. And I think we in our school district are doing amazing work and making amazing strides towards looking at that systems level change. And I have the opportunity to talk to educators every day about what are the barriers that they see for their students. And that is something that as much as I miss working with students, I'm really excited about that systems level change, and I'm really excited about being an advocate for our students at the university and college level. And being honest about what we see in the data and what we see in what we know to be true. And being really honest about those narratives and starting to spread that information widely so that everybody's making informed choices. That for me is really, really exciting work. And that's the next step, I think, for CAP, is really working closely in our networks throughout Southern California, throughout California, and throughout the nation to really look at systems level change.
And the link to your CAP website?
collegeaccessplan.org.
collegeaccessplan.org. We'll toss the link also on our website as well, so you could learn more about the program, but also support their efforts. So thank you again for being on our seminar and taking the time to be here for our extra one-on-one. Very much appreciate that. But more than that, I appreciate the work that you do in helping our underrepresented students navigate the very complex systems of not just getting into college, but being successful once there. So thank you so much for that.
It's the best work I've ever done, so I'm happy to keep doing it.
Nice. Fantastic.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for tuning in. Remember to visit our website, aotashow.com, for more information about CAP and also more information about college access in general. Thank you very much.
Thanks.